started. I want to hit record. Oh, they're already recording. All right, great. So, welcome to the week 3 live lecture. Okay. Um, there are a variety of lectures that you'll end up watching this week. Okay. Uh, because this course is we have half the time to cover all the same material for a normal semester. So you just have twice as many lectures to watch during the weeks. So okay. So the lectures are essentially like this. The first lecture is moving from outline to essay one. That's what I'm doing right now. Okay. I just on my own recorded and I'm going to post the lecture about intro to poetry and reading poetry for theme and symbolism. Okay, that's lecture 2. Lecture 3 through 5 are short. Oh, I just whistled through my teeth. They're short analysis lectures on these 3 poems: Neutral Tones, Spring and Fall, Madam and Her Madam. And then this is a maybe lecture. Oops. If I can get someone to send me a draft of their essay before Thursday, okay, before Friday, Thursday or Friday, then I can record a lecture of me editing an essay on Friday or on Thursday and then upload that for y'all to review and watch if it would be useful to you. If nobody sends me a rough draft before Friday morning, then I'm not going to record it. I'm not going to record it on Saturday or Sunday. Okay. If someone sends me a draft tonight or Wednesday night or Thursday night, then I will record another. But if no one does, then that one won't happen. Okay. All of this can be found in our week 3, the folders, week 3. Oh, okay. I've recorded the intro to poetry lecture, and it's being processed right now, and I'm gonna upload to YouTube, and it'll be right here. Okay. Neutral Tones, Spring and Fall, Madam and Her Madam poems that are listed in here, and in the poetry lecture that I discussed, is located right here, and these are the analysis videos. I recorded these back in 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I might look different. I might look the same. Okay. I recorded it on my previous laptop, which the camera had gone bad, so they're in black and white. Okay. Great. So you can watch those. Yeah. Okay. And then I want to talk about this in a moment. The PowerPoint that I'm using for this lecture the PDF copy of that can be found right here, outline to essay notes. This is what I'll be going over. So if you want to go back over anything I discuss in the notes today, you don't feel like use the right notes because it's listed right here. Okay, this is to click on this, you will get this, the PDF that I'm gonna go over today. Okay. All right. And one thing I want to show you, this right here, work citations for short stories. So your essay that you're submitting, you have your 3 sources that you should be using from your library research assignment, right? Where's my actual one? Not Okay, here we go. So if you did your library or research assignment correctly, and you used it for your outline, then you already have your three sources that you're using. Okay, your library research assignment right there. Okay, and then you had your outline essay one. At the end of it, you should have had on your outline, if you did it correctly, okay, then you had your work edit here that you just copy and paste and put it into your essay one, but it lacks the three stories that you're discussing. So right here, work citations for the short stories. If you click on this, then this will pop up, and it is the citations for the short stories. So like for my paper, for my fake paper that I wrote, um, mine was about like elephants. It was about the story of an hour, and it was about where you're going, where you've been. Okay, so I'll go here to this document that I uploaded, and I would highlight these, copy them, bring them to my paper, I paste them, but I need to organize them now. So it should be all in alphabetical order. So like open, move up here. Okay, Hemingway would move above K, and Oates would move above Stark. So Chopin, Cohen, Hemingway, Klein, Oates, Stark. All right, and now my works cited page is completed for my paper, and I should have 6. I talked about 3 stories, 1, 2, 3, and I have 3 outside sources, 1, 2, 3. I have 6 sources on my works cited page. Okay, this is the way your works cited page should look on your essay. It needs to include the short stories, and you don't have to do anything for that other than go to the week 3 file, download the work citations for short stories. There's 4 of them on here. You might have talked about that person, these 3 in your essay. You might have discussed the whole paper on just one story. So you download that story. I mean, copy and paste that citation. Okay. Your final, if you talk about a story in your paper, it needs to be represented on the works cited page. Okay. So if you have a source on your works cited page, it needs to appear in your paper. All right. You will lose points if you have sources on your works cited page that are not quoted or ever cited in your paper. And you will also lose points if you talk about a story or quote an author, a secondary source in your paper, but they're not on your works cited page. Okay, so make sure that you do that. Okay, everything here be in your paper. Now, as I'm going to show you throughout this presentation, if you did your outline correctly, where you have a quote from your short story and you have a quote from your source, then good. Okay, good. Then you will include, because again, I am going to show you how you are going to write your paper using your outline. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to hide this. I don't know if you can even see the little popping box. I see it. Okay, so hide window. There we go. Okay. So week 3, outline to draft. Again, everything I go over in these is exactly what I expect. Okay, so make sure that you comply. All right, so week 3 task. You are to write and submit a 5-paragraph essay in MLA format. Okay, that'll be today. After all this, I'm gonna show you where to submit the paper. Okay, because this is so short. Our semester is so short. We don't have time. I have not built time in to do a required rough draft and a required edit, all that kind of stuff. Not to say that you shouldn't be having maybe someone edit your paper. One more thing before I know I just heard this, but I do want to emphasize. Let's see, where did I put this? Is it weekly folders? This right here, free writing tutorial, tutoring. The writing lab on the Lawrenceville campus or Alpharetta campus is really, really great source. I, myself, an English major, I learned more about writing by going to the writing lab at my colleges than I did in an actual classroom. Okay. Because you sit with the writing tutor and you go over the work with them, and they literally teach you oh, this is not the way you use a comma. Oh, but this is though. See, this example. Okay. They do the things, the hands-on, one-on-one activities that we just can't do. That we don't have it. Okay. So, um, you they will sit with you and work through that with you, and then give you the skills. They don't take it, read it, fix it, and give it back to you. They go over it, okay, and you actually learn the skills that you need. So if you have time this week, today's Tuesday. If you finish your draft and you make an appointment for Thursday, then you really need to do that. Take it to them, have them look through it, read it. Work with them. You fix it, and then submit your final paper. Friday, Sunday night. Okay, that would be really, really wise for you to do. Okay, just because I'm not requiring a rough draft and a submitting it and peer editing. We don't have time for peer editing. I wish we did. In the 16-week class, we do peer editing, but we get peer feedback from each other. But we just don't have time currently to do that. Okay, so instead, we're left with going straight from the outline to the draft. Oh, here it is. Okay, write and submit a 5-paragraph essay in MLA format. Step 1. Open your outline from last week. Okay, so I want you to type your essay in your outline. I do this. I have written pieces, analytical pieces to try to submit and get published, all right, which are just glorified analysis essays. I mean, I wrote one that is 15 pages. Okay, it's trying to get it submitted into a journal, all right. So I write an outline, and then I start working on my draft within my outline. Okay. So let's say this is my outline right here. Okay. So I'm doing Learn to Die. In my book, I'm talking about the story, The Adulterous Woman. Okay. In my essay. All right. I have my introduction. Albert Camus' story, The Adulterous Woman, is a reworking of Chopin's The Story of an Hour. My thesis statement. Camus mirrors Chopin's story by using the setting as a form of character development, having each female character have an existential epiphany and the utilization of an orgasmic experience. Okay, that's my story. That's my thesis. Okay, main point 1: setting as a form of character development. I have my supporting quotes. All right, so begin by writing your introduction. Begin intro by stating the name and author of the story that you will be discussing, and what about them you are going to discuss. Move into adding some details about the stories that are important for your reader to know, like myself. Lay out the 3 main points you'll be discussing in the body paragraphs. Your 3 points do not need to be all in the same sentence. College papers move from including a thesis statement to a thesis paragraph. So, for example, okay, I'm in my outline, all right, and I have my introduction and my thesis here. Now I'm actually just going to write my paragraph. I do not, even though like I'm like presenting this presentation in chronological order, introduction, body paragraph, body paragraph. I don't always sit down to write from the beginning to the end. And I definitely don't sit down to write my entire essay at once. I really, this week, today's Tuesday, it would be, what you should do really is like write a paragraph today and tomorrow, maybe. I'm sorry, a couple paragraphs today, a couple paragraphs tomorrow, maybe a paragraph on Thursday, and then edit it. And so, like, you look at each body paragraph and each, each paragraph in general as an individual task, the thing you're trying to achieve within that paragraph. You don't think about the paper in its entirety, that's overwhelming. Instead, you break it down to individual paragraphs and you just try to tackle one paragraph at a time because every paragraph has its own purpose and its own main point in its own goal to achieve. And so you don't have to be thinking about these as this one large 1,000 word 3-page piece. Okay. You just try to tackle one paragraph at a time. Okay. Because if you can write a really good, perfect paragraph 5 times, then you're good. Okay. You're good. So here's my introduction. Albert Camus' story, The Adulterous Woman, is an analogous, I can pronounce that word, even though I wrote the word, reworking of Chopin's The Story of an Hour. To understand how Camus rewrote Chopin's story, purposefully or coincidentally, it is first necessary to see the similarities in the story. On the surface, the only immediate comparison is that the central characters in the stories are both women, Janine in The Adulterous Woman and Josephine in The Story of an Hour. But it is much deeper and beyond those points that lay the connective tissue of the two stories. Specifically, there are 3 fundamental aspects of the stories that demonstrate a severe comparison of the two stories and that indicate Camus had a very well working understanding of Chopin's story. All right, so that's leading into my thesis. All right, we have the initial stating the name and author of the stories I'll be discussing. That's here. Moving to adding some details what the stories are important for what for what you're discussing, and that is the similarities. The similarities. And then lay out the 3 main points that you'll be discussing. Here they are. First, each story contains a setting description of a room with a window and the sounds that come from outside. Second, each of the lead female characters have existential epiphanies that lead to realizing the necessity of living for oneself. And thirdly, both writers use sexual imagery in the form of orgasms, i.e., le petit mort, to symbolize the realization of each character's freedom. So that's the thesis. Now, again, now it's one statement. It's a series because they're each pretty involved. Like that's my introduction. Okay, and I just wrote it in my outline with these 2 things in mind. Step 3: write your first body paragraph. So first, you want to rewrite your main point 1 statement into a complete sentence. Then lead into the support and integrate your quotes, but include plenty of explanation and analysis. If you recall from the previous weeks about paragraph development, 50% of your paragraph needs to be explanation and analysis. Okay. And your quotes on your outline might be very long, but you may not use long quotes in your paper. Okay. You cannot use long quotes in your paper. And remember that 50% of your paragraph has to be explanation. 50% of your paragraph cannot be quotes. Okay. You need to shorten your quotes to only very specific details. Okay. So here, look. Setting as a form of character development. Okay. All right. So here we have in both stories, there are distinct moments when the female leads enter into their bedrooms to seek refuge from the outside world. Both rooms share a similar quality and effect on the characters. In Chopin's work, upon hearing about her husband's alleged death, Josephine, quote, went away to her room alone. There stood, facing the open window, a comfortable, roomy armchair. Okay, I put page 2 because I had I have a page number for that short story. While in Camus' work, a similar scene of solitude in her room, Janine, standing in her room, sees, quote, an iron bed, a white enameled chair, an uncurtained wardrobe, and a sort of window slit that opened into the sky. Okay. Look, these ellipses show that there was text deleted. My quote was shortened from and a sort. There's a certain number of lines that were deleted. That's okay. You can delete stuff from a quote as long as what you delete does not change the overall meaning of the quote. Okay, you cannot leave out something that's like really, really important. But you can leave out stuff that you deem unimportant and it does not impact the understanding of your of your analysis. Okay. These ellipses just mean that like this quote was much longer and now I've shortened it. I deleted some stuff that's unnecessary. Maybe it's repetitive or not useful. Okay. That's how you turn a long quote into a shorter quote. Okay. Is use ellipses. Do not use long quotes. These papers are not long enough to serve long quotes. Okay, so like I don't want you to have a quote that's longer than a line and a half. Okay, no long quotes. All right. Okay. So you write your first paragraph, integrating your quotes, and rewrite your main point into a complete sentence. Lead into the support, integrate your quotes, include explanation. All right. Do not leave it up to your reader to assume what you mean or think. Be very clear with what you are saying. Okay. Let's see. I wonder if I have any past essays that I can show you. I know I do. Let's see if I can find an example of essay 1. Let's see. Essay 1. Let's just look at this. Tina Nina. A fake name, in case you weren't sure about that. Okay, yeah, great. Here, let's look at this example. Okay. Taking place in the late 1800s, Chopin's The Story of an Hour follows Miss Mallard, a stereotypical housewife, over the course of the chaotic hour after she was informed of her husband's death. When she heard the news, quote, she wept at once, but not for the reasons one would expect. A great look. One. She didn't cry out of sadness. She cried because of what his death signified for her life. If she had been, I should have been forced to take on the submissive role of any female in a patriarchal society, eliminating all the choices from her life. Miss Mallard needed to free herself from the chains of a patriarchal life, and her husband's death did that for her. Miss Mallard needed to collect the new thoughts racing through her mind, so she went into her room alone and sat in, quote, a comfortable, roomy armchair. The comfort and relaxation that sitting in the armchair brought her symbolizes the peace of mind she feels in the moments following her husband's death. Not only is her body relaxed, but Chopin also begins to describe the, quote, delicious breath of rain. How the, quote, sparrows were twittering in the patches of blue sky. all representing her rebirth. Okay. So notice how this person is using these small little quotes. All right. There's a variety of them. Not using one long chunk of small little pieces that reinforce that what this writer is saying is supported by the text, but also not relying fully on just the text to make her point. It's just these little, this is like spicing up the essay, but fully relying on the student's analysis. Now we're starting to have a quote from Gracie Smith. Miss Mather begins to realize what her life will be like now that it's her life. She's getting the chance that most women at this time didn't. Didn't. To define herself through the choices she makes and the actions that evolve out of these choices. Tracy S. Smith. Okay, so this person has used an ellipses to shorten the quote. Okay, so the quote is not very long, it's shortened. But then also use a brackets. Brackets change the original word and modify it to fit grammatically. Okay, this original word was defining. Okay, defining herself through the choices she makes and the actions that evolve out of these choices. Now, this would not fit grammatically, whereas in the sentence, she is getting the chance that most women at this time didn't. Actually, I guess this is going. To defining herself through the choices she makes and the actions that evolve out of these choices. This defining is incorrect. So change the word, but not change the meaning. It fits grammatically. We can use brackets. Brackets means this word has been modified, but trust, it does not change the meaning. Now, this use of brackets, originally this right here was a pronoun. You go through the story, it's him. She loves him. Now, the brackets used here to clarify who him is to the reader. Or where if we're reading Chopin's story, we would know that him refers to her husband. But if someone's reading this paper who doesn't know what the story's about, we would need to know who him is. Is it her brother, her father? Who is him? So instead, we have a bracket. We have him deleted, and we have her husband. Because now we know that, okay, it didn't originally say her husband, but it was unclear who she had loved. And now it's made clear. Okay. Now, this right here, this citation is incorrect because you do not include the first name of authors. Okay. It would just need to have been Smith. And which then if you came down here, you'll be able to find, okay, there's Smith right there. Okay, there's Smith. Okay. All right. So that's an example of the size of quotes I'm looking for. Okay. And from both the secondary source and the primary source. Okay. But the majority of it could be, so like if let's just highlight this. Let's just break down this paragraph. Okay, I'm going to put it all on its own page. Okay, let's highlight the amount of quotes used. Okay. And this is going to serve a purpose also, not just to count, but to tell you about reinforce the integration of a quote. Okay. So these are the quotes being used in the paper. Okay. and there's both a primary source and secondary quotes being used. Okay. All right. So, for one, the way you know a quote's being used correctly in terms of it's being integrated is if we take the quote and we can delete it. And if we can delete the quote and the sentence still makes sense, it reads like there's no errors, then it's not integrated correctly. But if you delete the quote and the grammar now is messed up, the sentence does not make sense, it's grammatically incorrect, and that means that it is integrated correctly. So here we have, when she heard the news, but not for the reasons one would expect. That doesn't make any sense. Okay? Which means the quote is integrated correctly. Here, we get rid of this quote. So she went into her room alone and sat in. Oh, that's incomplete. That's integrated correctly. Okay. Let's look at Smith's quote. She is getting the chance that most women at this time didn't do. Period. That doesn't make any sense. That means the quote is integrated correctly. So, like, these are not drop quotes. These are not quotes that we can just delete, and it's as if they never existed. Okay, they exist. They are a part of the sentences. It would not make sense to not have them. There's evidence that they were there at one time. Okay, therefore they are integrated, which is what you have to do with your quotes. Now let's take all the quotes in this paragraph. I'm going to copy them, delete them all. Okay, and I'm going to put them right here. Here they are. Delete. These, close this up. So these are complete lines. And I'm going to count how many lines of quotes we have versus how many lines of non-quotes. Well, look, we can already tell. Look, that we're just looking at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lines of quotes out of all of these. All right. So more than half of the paper of this paragraph is analysis and explanation, which is perfect. Okay. Like, this is what you're doing 3 times. Your body paragraphs should look like this. Okay. I will post this body paragraph as an example for you. We're not looking at the rest of it. I'm not having you do, because you only need one. If you know how to write one really good body paragraph, then you just repeat it. Okay. Someone puts example of great body paragraph for essay 1. Okay. And then if you can try to mimic that over in your paper, then you'll be good. Okay. All right. Essay 1. Let's see. We're gonna go to the summer essay. Body paragraph example. All right. Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and add in a correct work citation. Let's see. I'm gonna go down here. And a good sample citation. There we go. Work cited. All right, great. I'm gonna post this for you to look at, and you can compare your paragraphs to this paragraph. Okay. All right. So when you are done writing your paper and you're ready to submit, go to weekly folders, go to week 3, and you have to submit twice. You gotta submit twice. You are going to submit it into Turnitin.com. because this right here, I'm sorry, right here, NSA1 detector right here, right here, right here, right here. Turn it in here. This will give you an AI detector reading. Okay. And honestly, actually, I don't even know if it gives it to you. I've never seen it from your perspective. It gives us the reading. We look at all the essays that have been submitted to turn it in, and we look at its AI detector, and then we make judgments on that paper. Okay, as I told you before, if you get a high reading of AI detection, then I run it through a series of other AI detectors. And if they also, if you get at least 3 high readings of AI detection, then you will be told to rewrite your essay. Okay. That's just the way it's going to go. Okay. Um, After you submit it to AI detector, then you submit it here. This is the Dropbox in which I will grade it and have the rubric attached to it. So the rubric, your grade, your actual grade, comes from this link. If you only submit it to turnitin.com, it won't be graded. You'll get a 0. If you only submit to this bottom one, I'm not going to grade it until you submit to for the AI detector. And if you don't submit through the AI detector until after I've graded all the essays, then it's late. Okay. So that means that when you are done with your essay and you're ready to submit it, you put it through the AI detector through this link, and you put it through this Dropbox. Okay? And that's what you need to do to submit your paper. And then when you're done with that, you're ready to move on to the poetry stuff. Okay? I'm gonna go ahead and add this body paragraph example because I just love overwhelming you with so much stuff. Body paragraph example. Body paragraph example. Boom. Submit. Okay. All right. So that's it right there. I might just move this up. Some of you are probably just going to want to go ahead and get this paper out of the way before you get even into the poetry stuff. So SA1, AI detector, and then the Dropbox. And then you can get into all the poetry stuff. All right? Okay. All right. So what questions do we have? Do we have any questions, Juan? No? Okay, buddy. All right. So that's it, y'all. If y'all have any questions after watching this, please let me know. All right. See y'all later.